coming for the throne.
What's up? My name is Riptide, and welcome to my 12.0.5 Mythic Plus Totemic Resto Shaman guide. A little bit about me: I've been playing Resto Shaman since Dragonflight Season 1. I mostly only do Mythic Plus, with the occasional stepping in to help a friend's raid here or there. I usually play a few different healers at a time, primarily focusing on Resto Shaman, where I'm currently sitting around 3860 Raider IO score, and I'm currently finishing up my 20 Resil. I usually off-roll tank, sometimes I'll play DPS as well, but I never claim to be the absolute pinnacle or arbiter for all things Resto Shaman, but I hope that, as the second best Resto Shaman in my chair, my advice is a little bit helpful to you in this guide. And a few general thoughts before we get started. Let's ask ourselves a couple of questions. Number 1, is Resto Shaman a good intro healer? And number 2, is Resto Shaman right for you? So Resto Shaman is absolutely a great healer to get started with your healing journey, as it can be played reactively, and then once you're more comfortable you can venture into a more proactive and reactive combined playstyle. Resto Shaman also has a lot of tools to deal with mistakes by pugs, see Wind Shear, Capacitor Totem, and some very strong cooldowns to out-heal a lot of decisions that pugs might make that can cause them to take extra damage. On top of that utility that Resto Shaman provides, it also provides Bloodlust to the group, and has the incredibly powerful Sky Fury raid buff, which grants your allies 2% mastery and empowers their auto attacks to have a 20% chance to instantly strike again. With Resto Shaman being a great intro healer, is it right for you? I'd say try it out for a while and see if the playstyle is something that you find fun, as far as being able to swap between healing, DPSing, and making reactive and proactive decisions with some of the incredibly satisfying spells that we have. It isn't for everyone, and that's perfectly fine, but anyone can absolutely pick it up and play it and have decent success with it, especially in lower keys. So some cons to keep in mind whenever you're going to look at Resto Shaman are that our healing spells generally require us to use other abilities to reduce their cast time, otherwise the cast time can be pretty unbearably slow. Resto Shaman also doesn't have an external outside of, say, Spirit Link Totem, so it doesn't have anything like Iron Bark or Pain Suppression, and it's not really an external necessarily, but it is definitely incredibly effective whenever you're trying to prevent damage and keep people alive. Resto Shaman has quite strong burst healing and quite strong single target healing, though we're not the best at either one of them. And lastly, we can sometimes struggle a bit on high damage consistent rot, especially with squishier party members, because, especially as Totemic, our mana can be taxed very heavily and very quickly to keep them alive, meaning Resto Shaman definitely benefits from having tankier DPS, i.e. DK, Devourer, DH, Ret Paladin, Warlock, etc. So now that we've gotten a brief description about Resto Shaman, let's talk about what race to make your Shaman. When it comes to Shaman, you can pick from a wide array of races. You have Dwarf, Draenei, Pandaren, Dark Iron Dwarf, Goltiran, Earthen, Haranir, Orc, Tauren, Troll, Goblin, High Mountain Tauren, Magar Orc, Zandalari Troll, and Volpera. So with so many different options, which one do we play? Well, if you're trying to time the highest keys in the world and 100% min-max your chances to time those keys, then Dwarf will be your best bet, as they have an incredibly strong racial in stone form that will be able to be utilized to great effectiveness in pretty much every dungeon to remove bleeds, poisons, diseases, and all manner of debuffs that you couldn't remove otherwise. Otherwise, play whatever race you like the most. You can do 20s with pretty much any race, so just pick what you like whatever you like the style of the most, whatever one looks best to you, feel free to play it. I personally play Orc because I like Horde more, I like Blood Fury, and I especially can't be bothered to pay for a faction change or re-level a new Shaman. Next we're going to talk about talents, starting with our class tree. I have a link to my general base talents in the description that you can grab and basically set it and forget it for the vast majority of Mythic Plus content that you'll do. However, we do have a few key talents to keep in mind, and a few flexible talents that you can exchange and move around based on what dungeon you're doing and what playstyle you like to have. So some key talents to keep in mind. Firstly, we're going to have Thunderous Pause, which on a 20-second internal cooldown removes snares. Keep in mind this is not roots, this is only snares, and increases your movement speed for 3 seconds, which is useful for things like removing little dots, say the Cold Wraiths, Permeating Cold in Pit of Sauron, the Suppression Field, which is a dot and movement reduction in Nexus Point Zenith from the Engineers. or the Subjugator Chains in Seat of Triumvirate. Next we have Astral Shift and the choice node below it for Plains Traveler. Astral Shift is an instant cast, non-global cooldown defensive that reduces all the damage you take by 40% for 12 seconds on a 2-minute cooldown. Plains Traveler makes this cooldown 1.5 minutes instead of 2 minutes as well. Our next key talent that we'll look at is Elemental Orbit, which allows you to utilize 2 elemental shields on yourself at once, meaning that you can have both Earth Shield and Water Shield on yourself at the same time. It also allows you to place a second Earth Shield on an ally that can be freely moved around, and note that this will remove the Earth Shield from the other ally rather than removing yours. It will keep your Earth Shield and just move around the other one. After that we have Enhanced Imbues, which increases the effects of your weapon imbues and shields by 20%. Next we'll look at Spirit Walker's Grace. With its choice node, Graceful Spirit, this 1.5 minute cooldown increases your movement speed by 20% and allows you to move while casting for 15 seconds. This can actually be activated off the global cooldown while you are casting a spell to be able to start moving during that cast and continue moving for that 15-second duration. After Spirit Walker's Grace, we have Nature's Swiftness, which makes your next nature ability instant cast and costs no mana on a 1-minute cooldown, and with the cooldown starting after it has been expended and not after you press it. This also plays into our Apex talent, which we will talk about a little bit later. Our next key talent that we'll talk about will be Capacitor Totem, as it is our only hard CC. On a 1-minute cooldown, you can place a totem at the location of your choosing within 40 yards. After a 2-second delay, it will stun all of the stunnable enemies within 8 yards, diminishing return depending. This cooldown can be reduced by up to 20 seconds if you end up taking the points in static charge underneath it. It is 10 seconds per point. Next we have Wind Shear, a 30-yard range, 30-second cooldown interrupt. Damage prevented is honestly better than damage healed, and Wind Shear can absolutely help you prevent a large amount of damage over the course of the dungeon, so make sure that you are actively interrupting whenever it's available. Next we have Therazane's Resilience, which causes our Earth Shield and our Water Shield to no longer lose charges, and gives them 115% effectiveness, which means that they are essentially just a 1-hour long buff that persists through death. Our last key talent will be Totemic Projection. This talent is vital for Totemic as it allows you to reposition your Surging Totem as well as every other totem every 10 seconds, which is important for maintaining your uptime on your healing/acid rain and trying to keep people under the effects of Deluge whenever possible. It's also very helpful if you simply misplace a totem, especially with rooms that can accidentally cause you to place your totems on the walls or on the ceilings. I'm looking at you, Chief Core Right Kazreth. While a majority of these talents can be left as they are in my base talent setup, we do have a fair amount of flexible talents. These would include things like Spirit Walk versus Gust of Wind. Spirit Walk removes all movement impairing effects and increases your movement speed by 60% for 80 seconds. This can remove all of the same things as Thunderous Paws, but it also includes the Gargoyle's Plunge Grip in Pit of Sauron, and things like Hooked Snare from the Headhunters in Mysara Caverns, whereas Gust of Wind hurls you forward a short distance and can be used to quickly counteract knockbacks, do the Skyreach Wind Bridge skip, and get back onto the last boss platform in Skyreach without having to kill the ad. Next we have Earth Grab Totem, which turns Earthbind Totem from a slow into a slow and a root, and can be used if your group is lacking ad control. We have Improved Purify Spirit, which causes your Dispel to also dispel all curse effects, in addition to the magic effects that are due to spells, like the Heal Absorb in Pit of Sauron, the increased shadow damage taken in Nexus Point Zenith, things like that. Next we have Earth Elemental, specifically with Primordial Bond, to give you a 15% max health increase for 30 seconds, and it stops your Elemental from taunting everything, causing frontals to go everywhere, causing tanks to get targeted by non-tank spells like Polymorph, and generally keeping your Elemental from getting almost instantly killed by all the melees it takes. Next we have Purge, which removes one magical buff from an enemy like Shields in Windrunner's Spire or Skyreach, as well as the second boss attack speed steroid in Magister's Terrace. Next we have Windrush Totem, which drops a totem at your feet to increase your movement speed and the movement speed of all allies who enter its radius. This can be moved with Totemic Projection as well during its duration. This can be paired with the choice node Jetstream as well, which gives an additional 10% move speed and removes all snare effects from allies that enter its radius or have it placed upon them. This can basically be used as a group-wide Thunderous Pause. Lastly, we have Poison Cleansing Totem, or PCT, and Tremor Totem. These are both very niche, but Poison Cleansing Totem definitely has a few more uses. It can be used in the first 2 hallways headed up to the bosses in Windrunner's Spire. It can be used on the first boss of Algathar Academy, whereas Tremor Totem can only really be used if you miss a Void Terror kick in Magister's Terrace, or if you don't get stacked up on the third boss of Windrunner. Now let's talk about our Resto tree and some of the key talents for Resto. Our probably most iconic spell, and my namesake, is Riptide. Riptide is an instant cast upfront heal that leaves a small hot on an ally, and once you're talented into it, provides you with a stack of Tidal waves, which reduces the cast time of your next healing wave or chain heal by 20%. This can stack up to 2 times as Totemic. Note that this means that you will have 2 spells with a 20% reduced cast time rather than 1 spell with a 40% reduced cast time. Next we have Healing Rain, which is required for Totemic. Healing Rain blankets your target area in healing rains, healing up to 5 allies, and coupled with Acid Rain, it also damages up to 5 enemies inside the Healing Rain. Our first major choice node is going to be the choice between Ascendance and Healing Tide Totem. Ascendance immediately does a burst of healing split between you and all of your allies within 20 yards, and turns you into a Water Ascendant for 15 seconds. During this time, your healing wave always crits and heals an additional ally for 50% effectiveness, and the mana cost of your healing wave and your chain heal are reduced by 25%. Healing Tide Totem, on the other hand, places a totem at your feet for 10 seconds, pulsing every 2 seconds, that heals all of your allies within 40 yards. These are both 3-minute cooldowns, but generally you'll take the choice node First Ascendant right below it, making them both 2-minute cooldowns. Now realistically, you can play either Ascendance or Healing Tide Totem, whichever one you enjoy the playstyle of more. I personally prefer Ascendance because I feel like it gives me more control and it feels more impactful to me personally, but a lot of high-ranked shamans will also run Healing Tide Totem, so whatever you would prefer to run, absolutely feel free. Next we have White Water, which causes our crits to heal for 215% rather than 200%, making our crits incredibly effective and the reason why crit is going to be our best secondary stat. Below this, we have Unleash Life, which does a single target heal and increases the healing of your next Riptide, Healing Wave, or Chain Heal by 25% and reduces its cast time, if it has one, by 30%. Next we have Earth Living Weapon, which is our primary weapon imbuement and takes the place of any weapon oils. Earth Living Weapon causes your Riptide, Healing Wave, and Chain Heal to have a 20% chance to apply Earth Living to an ally, giving them a heal over time for 6 seconds. Perhaps one of our most stealth impactful and easy to maintain talents is Deluge. This passive effect causes allies in your healing rain or affected by your Riptide to receive 15% more healing from Healing Wave and Chain Heal for as long as they are affected by either one. Our next choice node is Ancestral Reach versus Flow of the Tides. Ancestral Reach gives you an additional Chain Heal bounce, which isn't relevant in Mythic Plus, and increases the healing of your Chain Heal by 8%, versus Flow of the Tides, which also gives you the increased bounce, and if cast on a target affected by Riptide, will consume your Riptide, increasing the heal of your Chain Heal by 30%. Flow of the Tides can definitely be very good, and both are used by top resto shamans. Personally, I don't love the interaction of it consuming my Riptides, making the upkeep of Deluge more tedious, and because of that, I generally stick to Ancestral Reach personally. While Deluge is stealth impactful, one of our most important and impactful talents is going to be Echo of the Elements, which gives you an extra charge of both Lava Burst and Riptide, giving us more instant cast heals and more access to stacking Tidal Waves to make our cast times faster. Our largest group defensive is Spirit Link Totem, which places a totem at a chosen location for 6 seconds, which provides a 10% damage reduction to all players inside, and every 1 second redistributes everyone's health evenly. Next we have Coalescing Water, which causes your Healing Wave and Chain Heal to give you a stack of Coalescing Water that increases the initial healing of your next Riptide by 30%, stacking up to 2 times. And unlike Tidal Wave, this increases Riptide's initial heal up to 60%, rather than giving you 2 Riptide increased heals at 30%. Next we have Deeply Rooted Elements, or DRE, which causes your Riptide cast to have a 7% chance to trigger a free Ascendance, regardless of whether or not you are talented into Ascendance. It lasts for 6 seconds, with all of the same effects as the normal Ascendance that I listed earlier. Lastly, we have our Apex talent, Stormstream Totem. Much like with DRE, Riptide has a 6% chance to upgrade our Healing Stream Totem into Stormstream Totem, which heals for 10% more, heals an additional ally at 100% effectiveness, and does an initial heal to 2 injured allies in the range when used. The rank 2 points increase the healing of your Healing Stream Totem and your Stormstream Totem by 20 and then 40%. Rank 3 causes your Nature Swiftness to always give you a charge of Stormstream Totem, and now gives you a charge rather than simply changing and consuming your Healing Stream Totem charge when it's used. This means that if you have both charges of Healing Stream Totem ready, and you proc this talent, you will have 1 Stormstream Totem and 2 Healing Stream Totems, rather than 1 Stormstream and 1 Healing Stream. Now we do have the ability to swap around some of the talents in our spec tree, particularly things like Resurgence, Current Control, and Calm Waters, which you can move around to fit your personal playstyle preference. as well as swapping out Primal Tidal Core for Downpour with full melee groups. Now that we have a thorough understanding of Resto Shaman's base, let's talk about Totemic and how Totemic changes how you play Resto Shaman. The bread and butter of Totemic is our Surging Totem, which replaces our casted Healing Rain with a placeable totem that maintains Healing Rain at 20% increased effectiveness and can be moved every 10 seconds with Totemic Projection. Now before we continue with any other talents in this hero talent, let's jump to the capstone of Totemic, Whirling Elements. So Whirling Elements, whenever you place your Surging Totem, you gain 3 elemental motes: Water, Air, and Earth. Water causes your next healing wave to also cleave to an ally in your healing rain at 50% effectiveness. Air causes the cast time of your next heal to be reduced by 40%. Earth causes your next chain heal to apply Earth Living Weapon at 150% effectiveness. So some other key hero talents in Totemic are Totemic Rebound, where your chain heal upon reaching its last target now jumps to a nearby totem, causing the totem to cast chain heal on an injured ally within 30 yards that jumps to 2 other allies. Next, we have a choice node between Oversurge and Amplification Core, with Oversurge increasing the healing of Surging Totem during Ascendance or Healing Tide Totem's duration, versus Amplification Core, which gives you an aura 3% damage and healing increase while Surging Totem is active, which is essentially permanently up, and makes that a permanent 3% damage and healing increase. Next up, we have perhaps the most important talent in the entire hero talent tree, which is Lively Totems. Lively Totems causes each cast of your Healing Stream Totem, Spirit Link Totem, Healing Tide Totem, and Storm Stream Totem to trigger the totem to cast a free instant cast chain heal at 100% effectiveness, which gives you a massive amount of burst healing and burst AoE healing in general. Next we have Split Stream, which causes our Healing Stream Totem to heal yet another additional ally at 30% effectiveness, and if you run it, increases the healing of Healing Tide Totem by 25%. Our next choice node is between Pulse Capacitor and Tidecaller's Guard. Pulse Capacitor increases the healing of your Surging Totem by 25%, whereas Tidecaller's Guard gives you a secondary imbuement that goes on your shield and increases all healing that you do by 2% and increases the duration of your Healing Stream Totem by 3 seconds. If you run a full melee comp, there's definitely an argument for Pulse Capacitor, as people will be in your healing rain essentially 100% of the time. But in general, Tidecaller's Guard will provide you with more overall healing for most groups, as not everyone will always be in your healing rain, especially in pugs, so I generally prefer Tidecaller's Guard. Next up, we immediately have another competitive choice node between Totemic Coordination and Earth Surge. Totemic Coordination increases the effectiveness of your chain heals from Lively Totems and Totemic Rebound by 25%, versus Earth Surge, which causes allies affected by your Earth Living Weapon to receive 15% increased healing from you. Really, this is down to personal preference, as both can be very effective. I personally run Earth Surge normally, as we have a lot of different things that can apply Earth Living Weapon, and you can guarantee Earth Living Weapon's application with your Earth mode from your Surging Totem. Lastly, we have Primal Catalyst, which gives the healing from your Healing Stream Totem and, if talented, Healing Tide Totem, an 8% chance to apply Earth Living Weapon to your allies, as well as all of your additional ways to apply it already. So now let's talk about gear. As a general rule of thumb, you'll want to go for item level before everything else, just to get your main stat. Now, once you have a good amount of main stat, you can start narrowing down and fishing for specific stats. Our secondary stat priority generally goes crit, about as much as you can get, up to around 30% or so, verse, for more damage, more healing done, and damage reduction, and then mastery and haste, which haste you'll want at least 10 to 15%, otherwise your heals can feel extra clunky and extra slow. Next, let's talk tier. Our tier set is pretty straightforward. Our 2-piece causes Unleash Life's cooldown to be reduced by 3 seconds and increases its direct healing by 100%. Our 4-piece causes Unleash Life to affect an additional spell cast at 100% effectiveness, which, if you recall from earlier, Unleash Life does a single target heal and increases the healing of your next Riptide, Healing Wave, or Chain Heal by 25% and reduces its cast time, if it has one, by 30%. So this now affects 2 spells rather than 1. So with our tier and stat priority in mind, what kind of trinkets should we look for? Popular choices that you'll see are obviously Gaze of the All-Seer, as it's popular for everyone, Crucible of Erratic Energies, Litany of Light-Blind Wrath, Radiant Sunstone, Emerald Coach's Whistle, Never Melting Ice Crystal, etc. But realistically, use what you can get and then focus on how you want to play and what you have access to in order to influence what trinkets you choose. For instance, I personally don't raid very often. It's not the thing I like to do. I prefer Mythic Plus, so I'm generally not going to have access to things like Litany, Gaze of the All-Seer, or some other really popular ones that come from raid. So get whatever trinkets that you can get and that work for you and that you like for your playstyle, and they will be fine. When it comes to crafting, we have a few crafting and embellishment options, so this will vary based on what kind of gear you get and how quickly you get that gear due to RNG. Some of the embellishments I recommend are Dark Moon Sigil Hunt, which if you craft your weapon or offhand goes on one of those, and provides 56 secondary stats based on your target for 15 seconds. Next we have Arcana Weave Lightning, which gives your spells and abilities a chance to empower you and an ally, increasing your primary stat for 20 seconds. This effect is also doubled in stat value if you have 2 of them. Now, with all this talk of gear, does it really matter? Honestly, as long as you have somewhat decent stat percentages, not really. You can heal very high keys without having the absolute best gear in the world, so don't let gear stop you from pursuing the content that you want to do, the content that you enjoy, unless you simply do not have high enough item level to live through things. While great stats and the best gear is very helpful in anything you do, it's not required to get started or even to push fairly high in Mythic Plus or Raid, so make sure that you don't let that be the hindrance that stops you from doing what you want to do, because the gear will come with doing the content. Just have fun first and foremost. Now let's talk about rotations. As far as rotations when it comes to Mythic Plus healing, especially when it comes to Resto Shaman, there isn't a set in stone always do XYZ rotation, but there are some general rules to follow for the best chances of success. For instance, maintaining your Riptide on allies and effectively utilizing Tidal waves without overcapping the 2-stack buff, effectively keeping your healing rain on your allies and on enemies when possible to maintain Deluge and Acid Rain, effectively utilizing your lively totems and totemic rebound chain heals to help AoE heal and give you instant cast burst healing without using massive amounts of mana, effectively planning for and utilizing your motes from your surging totem, and not overlapping cooldowns during damage or burst events. That way you can have cooldowns going into as many different burst events and damage events as possible. So for tips and tricks, we've already kind of discussed a few different things as far as when you can use something like Thunderous Paws or Spirit Walk, when you can use Spirit Walker's Grace in the middle of a cast, things to use Jetstream on, but let's talk about a few more. One of the best tips I can provide is to strategically plan your Surging Totem uses. This allows you to methodically use the motes that you get from Surging Totem during specific damage events on trash mobs, bosses, and other high damage events that might come through during the dungeon. This will help give you quick heals, it'll help apply your Earth Living weapon to give you increased healing if you're running Earth Surge, and to generally provide you with everything that fuels Totemic into being the powerhouse that it is. Speaking of our Surging Totem motes, the Chain Heal from Lively Totems does also consume your Earth mote, applying that Earth Living weapon to your allies at 150% effectiveness. It also stacks your Coalescing Water, increasing the healing of your Riptide by 30 and 60% whenever it stacks up to 2 times. Another tip I have is that before high damage events, you can pool your Stormstream totems, especially if you're able to get 2 stacks of Stormstream without using Nature's Swiftness, and this will allow you to have repeated instant cast heals from your Lively totems, the increased burst healing from the Stormstream totem itself, another instant cast heal from your Nature's Swiftness, and yet another Stormstream totem for that instant burst heal and the Lively totem's healing. Now, if you do this, keep in mind that you can only have 4 of those healing totems out at once, be it 3 Storm Streams and 1 healing stream, 2 Storm Streams, 2 healing streams, any sort of combination of those. As mentioned earlier, you can use things like Thunderous Paws, Spirit Walk, and Jetstream to remove troublesome hard-hitting dots tied to movement impairing effects on you and your allies. See the Cold Wraith dot from earlier, the Suppression Field in Nexus Point Zenith, or the chains in Seat of the Triumvirate. Lastly, another quick tip that I have is during Spirit Link, you can also use Astral Shift to reduce the damage that you're taking, to then keep your health pool high for redistribution, as well as utilizing things like health potions and Warlock health stones if your group is really struggling, and these will bring your health up to a higher amount to increase the heal that you give to other people through the redistribution. Now let's talk about some helpful macros. I personally like to use mouse over healing macros, even though they're kind of built into the game now for the most part. Sometimes I feel like they don't work as well as they should, so I typically use them. I have a few listed on the screen here if you would like to ever use them. I do also use @cursor macros to quickly place totems or to quickly reposition them with totemic projection, rather than having to press the button for the totem or for totemic projection and then click where I want to place the totem. Lastly, I have a fair few help harm macros that I use to reduce button bloat in general. These help harm macros make it to where when I mouse over an ally's frame, I will use my helpful spell, such as Purify Spirit, Healing Wave, Chain Heal, Riptide, or Earth Shield. Or when I target an enemy and I'm not mousing over anything, or I mouse over the enemy, I will do a harmful spell such as Purge, Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Lava Burst, Flame Shock, etc. The macros that you see on screen are the ones that I use most, and I will also have them in the description should you want them. One thing to note is that on my Lava Burst macro, I do have a second healing wave, and that is because we used to have the spell Healing Surge, and I'm just so used to having to heal where my Lava Burst sits, that if I did not include Healing Wave there would definitely be times where people might die because I thought I was healing them and I wasn't. So if that looks weird, that's why. You don't have to do it that way if you don't want to. You can mix and match these damaging abilities and the healing abilities for wherever they're going to be most comfortable for you as well. All you have to do is take out what's listed after Show Tooltip and the actual spell names themselves and just swap them for whatever spells that you want. Now let's talk add-ons. I've never been a big add-on guy. I never used weak auras. I never used text-to-speech things, notes, anything like that. I never used crazy UI changes like bartender, LVUI, anything like that. And I tend to keep things pretty light when I'm running add-ons, just to show that they aren't required. Are they helpful sometimes? Are they nice sometimes? Would you potentially have more fun if you use them? Sure, absolutely. And if you want to use them, absolutely go ahead and do that. But if you're thinking that you need to have very specific add-ons with very specific configurations, text-to-speech, weak aura replacements, things like that, to do high keys, you just simply don't. And if you want to have them, by all means do that, but do not let add-ons or lack thereof stop you from running your Mythic Plus keys and having fun. Just do the keys when you want to do them, how you want to do them. Don't worry about add-ons unless you would like them, and then by all means go grab them. So the add-ons that I generally run while keeping it pretty light are DBM, which I generally use for pull timers. They also happen to now have better boss timings and better trash timings. I didn't used to have that, but hey, I'm not complaining, it's fine. I use Base Plater just because it looks a little bit nicer than the typical Blizzard health bars. I don't have any sort of special configurations with it, so there's nothing really to look for in that. I use Angry Keystones for a cleaner key timer UI, just because it looks a little bit nicer. And I use MDT for dungeon route sharing and routing through dungeons so that I can make my own routes whenever I do off-roll as tank. With that in mind, I don't use any specific healer add-ons. You might hear people use things like Voodoo or Cell or some other ones that I don't know of. I don't use Decursive. I don't have any specific special UI setup or special raid frames or anything. I use all base Blizzard stuff for that. And that wraps it up for our Totemic Resto Shaman guide. So let me know what you think or any questions you might have in the comments. I've already been asked to make a guide for Ember Dawn in Windrunner Spire, so I'll be getting started on that soon. If you do have any other boss guides that you'd like, or general Mythic Plus guides, commentary keys, VOD reviews, etc., feel free to let me know. I do also have memberships available now, and I will definitely prioritize any requests from members. Now keep in mind, this is completely optional, not something you have to do at all. I will always try to make the videos that people request from me, that way I can help out anyone in the community. I love doing keys, I love helping people, so I'm always happy to help. But I will do that as time allows, as I do balance a full-time job, as well as trying to push for Tidal in pugs, real-life responsibilities, etc. So with that being said, thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed the guide, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and go time some keys.
I'm coming for the throne.